Good morning, Lieutenant Dove. My name is Philip Barb. I represent Mr. Murdaugh.
Good morning.
I'd like to get to a timeline as soon as possible, but first I want to go over just a few things we've been talking about. We talked about reading text messages when they're sent and when they're read.
Yes, sir.
Is it possible to see the contents of a text message without it being marked read?
Yes, sir, it is.
And how would that be?
If you have a notification on your phone on the lock screen that would show a text message, depending on how long the text message is, you could see the text message and read most of the content without actually opening it and reading the message.
And we talked about the battery on Paul's phone. It was down to 2% when that last text message was marked as read. Is that correct?
It was in that time frame, yes, sir.
And is it reasonable that someone whose battery's down to 2% might curtail their use of the phone?
It is possible, yes, sir.
We've talked a lot about orientation changes, and I think there was some discussion right before we saw that video about orientation changes, and I think we should go into some detail about exactly what that means. So, I'm going to show you what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit 38. And do you recognize that, sir?
Yes, sir, I do. It appears to be part of the knowledge seed database with some tables changed up because it's so large to make it more readable.
A knowledge C database for whose phone?
At the top it says Maggie Murdaugh's phone.
And you talked about the knowledge C database a little bit yesterday, but maybe just to refresh, what is that?
Knowledge seed database is a rather good-sized database. It records a lot of information inside your phone. It can be orientation changes. It can be whether a phone's plugged in to a wall, to a car. It can record such things as applications, if they're launched sometimes in there. It's a variety of things. It can record battery. It's part of the power log too, where it'll record the battery usage as far as the percents.
Your Honor, at this time, the defendant would offer Exhibit 38 into evidence.
No objection. Submit it without objection.
And please publish to the jury. And can we go to the last page? And sir, if you please turn to the last page.
Yes, sir.
This is not a list of everything in Knowledge C, correct?
Correct.
This is just showing orientation changes.
Correct.
And is this showing all the orientation changes in this database in Maggie Murdaugh's phone?
For the time frame that it's set up, as far as June 3rd, 2021, it ends on June 7th, 2021.
Do you know if Maggie Murdaugh's phone had any orientation changes in the Knowledge C database before June 3rd?
Nothing that I remember seeing.
If we turn to the very last orientation change, you see that it has date recorded 9:06 and 22 seconds?
Yes, sir, I do.
And that's on June 7th.
Yes, sir, it is.
Is that the last orientation change before the phone was recovered by law enforcement the next day?
According to what I looked at, that's the last one I saw.
And where was the phone recovered?
I'm not exactly sure. I wasn't at the scene. I know it was not recovered near the kennel area, but exactly where, I wasn't there, so I'm not sure.
I mean, are you aware that it was recovered from the side of the road into the woods about 15 feet?
I've heard that, but like I said, I was not on scene, so I can't say 100% I was there to see it.
What I want to ask about here is we have 3 different dates and times for this one orientation change, and I just want to understand what each one means. So the first one, date recorded, which is at 9:06 and 22 seconds, what does that mean?
That's when it recorded the orientation change.
So would that mean that that's when this line was written in the database?
Yes, sir.
So the start time for an orientation change, what does that mean?
It's when it started to record that the orientation change was happening.
Okay, and then I see the end time would be when it ended 8 seconds later, correct?
Yes, sir.
What does that mean for an orientation change to take 8 seconds?
That it was in that position.
So is it taking 8 seconds to go from portrait to landscape?
No, sir. It's recording that it was in that. It did not show that it changed. If it's in portrait, it didn't show that it changed from portrait to landscape or from landscape to portrait. It shows it was in that position for that period of time.
Okay. So, and then over here, this number, there's numbers that are 0 and 1. 0 would be landscape and 1 would be portrait, correct?
Yes, sir, correct.
So we have here, this is the last orientation change before it's recovered, and we have a start time and an end time of 12 seconds to 20 seconds.
Yes, sir.
And do you recall that there was an incoming phone call in that time period?
Yes, sir. There were incoming phone calls around the 9:04, 9:05, and I think at 9:08. Also, a text message around then.
Do you recall that there was a phone call between 9:06 and 12 seconds and 9:06 and 20 seconds?
Yes, sir. I believe there was.
And who was that call from?
It was from Alex Murdaugh.
So during the period of this orientation change, there's an incoming call from Alex Murdaugh.
Yes, sir.
And so during this period, the screen is on, correct?
The screen would light up once the call's made. Yes, sir.
And it's ringing, correct?
I'm assuming it would be yes, sir.
We'll come back to that when we try to flesh out a little bit of a timeline. The next thing I wanted to ask you about, I will show you what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit 41. Do you recognize that, sir?
Yes, sir. This is another table from the Knowledge Seed database.
It's actually, isn't it the same table, sir?
Well, it's part of the same table. It's actually the other one contained the orientation. This one contains apps.
And this one contains, well, let me ask this. When you, under stream name, do you see Siri UI?
Yes, sir, I do.
And do you understand what that is?
Yes, sir.
Okay. At this time, Mr. Murdaugh would offer Defense Exhibit 41 into evidence, Your Honor.
No objection. It's admitted.
Public. So this looks similar, and we see that it says Siri, and there's things that say begin and end. What does UI mean?
It stands for user interface.
And so we see here the user interface is starting and stopping at these various times. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And what on Maggie's phone, what would typically trigger the Siri user interface?
It could be several different things. If it's set up with Siri where there's a word that you say, you know, Siri or whatever you choose to say, it could activate it when it's listening. It could be hit the button, the power button to activate it. It could be several different things.
And hitting the button, is the button on the side of the phone?
Yes, sir.
If that's pressed and held for a couple of seconds, it comes on?
Yes, sir.
And I want to turn, do you know who a man named Al Johnson is in relation to this case?
Yes, sir, I do.
And who is he?
He is a private investigator that does digital forensics, retired from the FBI.
And did he do work on this case?
Yes, sir, I believe he did.
Did he do analyses of the phones in this case?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever seen those analyses?
I've not seen his completed reports, no, sir.
Okay. Have you seen his Axiom reports?
I have not seen all his Axiom reports, no, sir.
Let me ask this. When you looked at the steps and the time periods for the steps on the Maggie's phone, Paul's phone, well, let's just talk about Maggie's phone and Alex's phone. Did the steps after 9 o'clock, say, did they ever go together? Were there steps happening on Alex's phone at the same time as Maggie's phone?
I would have to look at the two reports because I looked at them singly, so I would have to put them together to compare them.
Okay, well, let's find them. And mark this states 284, admitted as 284. Oh, it's been admitted as states 290.
Okay.
And so just to understand the question, is there anything indicating that Maggie's phone and Alex's phone are moving together in those reports?
Let me look to see, compare the times. No, sir, it doesn't appear so.
Okay. If the same person had had both phones on them and one of the phones was recording a significant number of steps, would you expect to see the same number of steps or something very similar on the other phone?
I would expect to see steps on both phones, yes, sir.
And you would expect to see those steps over about the same time period?
Yes, sir, give or take a minute or two for entry in the database.
And then you would roughly expect to see the same number of steps on each phone?
Yes, sir, within a few.
Are you familiar with a timeline prepared by a special agent, and I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly, Murdaugh, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you assist with the preparation of that timeline?
I reviewed it early on. I have not reviewed anything in the last week or two on it.
Well, let me ask about that. Early on, but not within the last week or two, that the case has been investigated, since 21. So were you assisting with that until a couple of weeks ago?
He provided me copies of it previously when it was in a working draft copy, just to verify that he was interpreting the information from my reports onto it correctly.
And now turning to Alex Murdaugh's vehicle, it was a Chevy Suburban, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And did you do any work regarding the electronics in that vehicle?
No, sir.
You had no involvement in anything with that vehicle?
As far as processing the data, no, sir. I just took the items that were seized from the vehicle, as far as the infotainment center, and prepared them and sent them to the FBI to be processed.
Have you ever seen any of the results from the FBI processing?
Yes, sir, I have.
Okay. So now I want to turn and start going through some of the text messages on Maggie's phone. It's maybe a little hard to read, sir, but do you recognize what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit 54?
It appears to be a report for iMessages, SMS, and MMS messages.
And is this a report you prepared?
No, sir, I don't recognize this report.
Are you certain about that, sir? This was produced in the extractions. This is the Axiom report with bookmarked.
Yes, sir, but I did not prepare it like this.
It's a web page on the computer, correct, sir?
Yes, sir, it's an HTML page.
And then this is just a printout of that.
It says print this page at top, so I would assume that it is, yes, sir.
Sir, can you read under source, say on the third entry?
On the third entry of source? Yes, sir.
Do you see where it says CCRED and then it says Red Network Local and then slash and root and gov with your name? Do you recognize any of that?
Yes, sir. That's the file path for our evidence server with this item, the extractions contained.
Your Honor, at this time, I would offer Defendant's Exhibit 54 into evidence.
No objection to that. It's admitted.
So this is, and could we please publish? And could we zoom in so that the left side of the screen is a little larger? Zoom in so the left side of the screen is larger and visible to the jury. Now, Lieutenant Dove, the times in the time column here are UTCs, so we'll need to subtract 4 hours from them. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, and this is a listing of text messages that Maggie Murdaugh sent or received?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay. So the second entry there, what's the time for that message?
The time it shows the message sent time is June 7th, 2021. It shows it at 7:55:26 p.m., but to correct it to Eastern Standard Time at that point would be 3:55:26 p.m. That's with -4 UTC.
Okay, and is this incoming or outgoing message?
This records it as a message that was sent.
And does this message say, well, can you read the message?
It says, TY, I'm waiting at doctor. Alex wants me to come home. I have to leave door open at Edisto, but trust Mexicans to shut and lock for me. His dad is back in hospital. The last doctor claims no cancer, it's pneumonia.
Okay, and does this continue on to 3? Well, let's just continue. Can you read number 3?
Yes, it's hard to tell where it separates on this report, but there's 2 emojis, and it says, Alex is about to die. Hope he doesn't go down there to sleep. Alex needs to take care of himself as well.
And what was the time on that one?
That text message was June 7th, 2021. It shows it at 7:57:16 p.m. To correct to UTC -4 would be 3:57:16 p.m.
And then if we come down to number 5, that's an incoming message from Mr. Murdaugh, isn't it? That we looked at before.
Yes, sir.
And what does it say?
It says, how's your doctor appointment, or APPT?
And if we go to the second page, and number 6 there, is that an outgoing message?
It shows it as a received and read message.
And what does it say?
It says, yes, he does. He told me he was tired when he left. I hope they can treat Mr. Randolph at least to make him comfortable.
Now the next one, number 7, is that a reply to the how was your doctor visit message?
Yes, sir, it appears so.
And what does it say?
Waiting as usual.
And number 8, is that an outgoing message?
It is a sent message, yes, sir.
And what does it say?
It says, I'm scared for him and Alex and all of us.
In the context of these text messages, do you understand that to be referring to Mr. Randolph Murdaugh's medical condition?
Yes, sir, I do.
And what's the time on that?
That time is June 7th, 2021. It shows at 8:06:43 p.m. To correct it to -4 UTC would be at 4:06:43 p.m.
Okay. And number 9, what does that, is that incoming or outgoing?
It shows it as a received and read text message.
Okay. And what does this text message say?
It says, I know, just pray about it and hope he gets a little better. Alex and you really need to relax. Always being on the go with little to no sleep is not healthy. Remember that I have a doctor's appointment in the morning in Beaufort. If I get done early, I will go to Moselle. I'll let you know.
Okay, let's skip down to page 4, which I believe will be our next message from Mr. Murdaugh. And we're looking at number 18. Is this an incoming message from Mr. Murdaugh?
I believe the girl raised his hand.
Yes.
Yes, sir. We're having a little difficulty seeing this. If they could blow it up just a little bit. Just a little smaller, please.
Can't see the small print.
If we could make the message text in particular with the date. Yeah.
Proceed.
Your Honor, I would ask the court to please ask the jury if they can now see.
Is there anyone who cannot see? Proceed.
Line 18, who is this text message from?
The text message, it shows the client or the chat ID is 1-803-942-1227.
Is that Alex Murdaugh?
Yes, sir.
And what is the time of this message?
The time of this message is June 7th, 2021, 11:05:55 p.m. To correct to minus UTC is going to be 7:05:55 p.m.
And what does the message say?
Paul says you were getting petty. Call when you get done.
And there are 2 exclamation marks after petty, correct?
Yes, sir, correct.
Showing some, and petty, you would understand here to mean pedicure?
Yes, sir. To the best of my knowledge, it is.
Now, number 20 would be the next text message from Mr. Murdaugh, and what is the time on that?
The time on that, on the paper, it's June 8th, 2021 at 1:08:58 a.m. To correct the time to -4 UTC would make the day June 7th, 2021 at approximately 9 o'clock, 9:08:58 p.m.
And what does this one say?
Going to check on M, be right back.
And then finally, number 21, I'll just ask, is this at 9:47 and 23 seconds p.m.?
Yes, sir, once it's corrected for the UTC.
And what does this say?
It says, call me, babe.
And who is it from?
It's from the same phone number of 1-803-942-1227, and that phone number is for Alex Murdaugh.
Ask about that 908 text message because I think the state talked about that a bit. Let me ask this. Do you know when that text message was actually displayed on Maggie Murdaugh's phone?
I would have to check the report to see if it actually shows the display time or when it recorded in the log. But I believe it was the 908 mark.
Come back to that. Let's talk now a bit about the timeline from about 8:50 p.m. to 9:08. Right, very narrow and get into some real detail on it. And if I could have an easel. I'm going to ask about some times, and you may need to refer to the reports. If so, let me know, and I'll turn them on.
Yes, sir.
And I'm really talking, well, let's first just talk about Paul's phone. We established that it locked at 8:49 and 1 second. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And it did not unlock again.
Correct.
And it was at 2% battery.
Yes, sir.
So we don't really know much about what happened after that time from his phone, do we?
Just what was recorded in the logs.
Was anything reported in logs after 8:49 and 1 second?
Yes, sir. It's still showing that there was some activity going on as far as like GPS coordinates, things of that matter.
When was the last activity? Well, let me rephrase that. When was the last activity indicating human use of the phone?
Was the time that it was locked.
Okay, and so we don't know what the person with the phone was doing after that. We can't tell from the phone, can we?
I can't tell if a person was using the phone. It doesn't appear so, but the phone, because it was still on, was still running things in the background.
Okay. Now I'm going to talk a lot about Maggie's phone. So on Maggie's phone, was the display off from 8:49 and 28 seconds to 8:53 and 8 seconds?
That sounds right. I'd have to verify it with the report to be 100%.
Okay, do you have the report on hand?
No, sir, I don't.
I just handed you what's been marked, it's been admitted as state security 3, which is the timeline report for the phone.
Yes, sir.
So is that correct, that time period for display off?
Could you repeat the time so that I can verify it, please?
Okay, it is 8:49 and 28 seconds is the display goes off. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. It shows that that's the end time of the display on.
Is there an orientation change at that time too?
It shows an orientation change at 8:49, 28 seconds, goes to landscape. So there is the same time.
And 2 seconds later, is the phone locked?
It said 8:49, 31 p.m. It shows the start time of being locked.
Okay. Our next event at 8:53, does the display come back on?
Yes, sir, it does.
The phone is still locked, but the screen is on. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's what it's showing.
And is there an orientation change at 8:53 and 12?
Yes, sir, it goes to portrait.
And we have in this, kind of starting at this time period, starting at 8:53:15, with Apple Health, don't we have her walking some distance?
Yes, sir, I believe so. I believe it recorded some steps then. I'd have to refer to that report.
Please do.
Yes, sir. It starts at 8:53:15 p.m., recording 59 steps, and ends at 8:55:32.
Do you have any way to know the distance that covered?
No, sir. It just says it recorded 59 steps, and then it shows on there a duration in minutes, which is approximately 2.29.
Is the distance, is it on the phone? Is it available through phone?
As far as distance, as far as in yards or
I need meters.
I have seen it in meters, yes, sir.
So that information has been recovered, how many meters those steps covered?
Yes, sir. When we extracted the information, it would have been part of that.
And was that 31 1/4 meters?
I would have to look at, it's not on this report, on the accident report, it doesn't put it down in meters, it just does it in feet. I would have to look at one of the other reports or look at the extraction to know exactly how many meters it is, but it does record in meters.
And at the end of that walking period, or about 4 seconds before, when does the screen turn off next?
I show a display off at 8:53:28 is the start time of that. And then the next display off is at 8:53:44 p.m.
Well, let's stick with the 8:53:28, it went off, correct?
Yes, so that shows the start time of it being off.
And did it come back on 4 seconds after that?
Yes, sir. It comes on at 8:53:32 p.m.
Now, the exhibit I previously showed you about Siri. When's the last activation of the user interface for Siri?
The last one shows that it started on June 7th, 2021 at 8:53:20 p.m.
Okay, so it's during this period of walking.
Yes, sir.
And we covered previously that holding the side button can trigger that.
It's one of the things, yes, sir, that could trigger that.
Now, the screen had gone off at 8:54:32. Is that correct?
At 8:54:32 was the end time of the display off.
I apologize. 8:53:44 it came on, correct? The display went off, and then it went back on at 8:55:04. Is that correct?
Let's see. I show display off starts at 8:53:44. It ends at 8:55:32. Display on at 8:55:32 is when it starts with the display on. And then it shows that ending at 8:55:04.
So at 8:55:32, the display comes on, and 2 seconds later is a camera application used.
At 8:55:32?
At 8:50, I'm sorry, at 8:54:32, the screen comes on.
Yes, sir.
2 seconds later, the camera is activated. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Was the camera activated from the lock screen? In other words, the phone was not unlocked to get to the camera.
It doesn't appear that there's an unlock sequence, but I would imagine not, just based off of that I don't see the unlocking.
Is there metadata in the Knowledge C database that would allow you to determine whether this was activated from the lock screen?
There may be. I've never looked that far into it to see if that's there.
So the screen comes on, the camera's activated. It stays on for how long?
It comes on at 8:54:34 and goes off at 8:54:35, so approximately 1 second.
Okay. And we're still in that walking period, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, 5 seconds later, we have an orientation change.
The orientation change to landscape begins at 8:54:40. Yes, sir, approximately 5 seconds.
So in a space of 6 seconds, correct, at 8 seconds, screen came on, camera opened, closed, and then orientation change. So what happened in that 8 seconds?
I don't know that the camera came on. I know that it was showed an application usage log. Whether somebody activated the camera to use it or not, I don't know that.
And then when did the display go off?
It shows display off at 8:55:04 p.m.
Okay. And there was an orientation change then too, correct?
Yes, sir. It went to portrait.
And did the display come on again shortly thereafter, 28 seconds later?
Yes, sir. At 8:55:32 p.m.
And then it went off and it stayed off until 9:03, correct?
Yes, sir. The display went off at 9:03:52 p.m.
So, and then what we would have after that would be some incoming calls that go unanswered until we get to that orientation change at 9:06. Is there anything else happening on the phone?
There's other things that were recorded in the logs, because they were recording the logs that it received a phone call. So you get that, you get the phone calls in there.
And
It
the phone
shows,
call, when was that?
it shows a phone call at 9:04:23 p.m.
And I think we had previous testimony like that was from Alex Murdaugh, correct?
Yes, sir, correct.
And then we have the final orientation change at 9:06 and 12, which has a start time of 9:06 and 12 and an end time of 9:06 and 12, correct?
Yes, sir. That's when your orientation changes to portrait.
And in that time period, we have another call from Alex Murdaugh, correct?
Yes, sir, at 9:06:14 p.m.
And then another one coming in at 9:06:51, is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And then the display after that goes off.
Yes, sir, it goes off at 9:07:00 p.m.
And that text message we talked about earlier at 9:08:58, did the screen come on when that came out? Or did it just stay off?
It looks like when the display off ended was at 9:31:44 p.m.
Is that when that text message was actually delivered?
It shows text message received on the phone at 9:08:58 p.m.
But the screen did not come on until 9:31.
Correct.
We talked about Alex Murdaugh's steps. Did he have a period of walking that went from about 9:02 to 9:06 and 47 seconds?
I would have to refer to that report. I'm sorry, could you give me the times on that again?
It's about 9:02 time period. It ends at 9:06 and 47 seconds.
Yes, sir. It shows that the phone recorded 283 steps.
Do you recall from the report you got from the FBI about this vehicle, if anything was recorded happening on his vehicle at 9:06 and 48 seconds?
I don't remember. I remember looking at the report, but I haven't studied that report, so I don't know.
You don't recall that the report shows that the car engine was started at that time?
I would have to look at that report. Like I said, I looked at the report when it first came back, but I have not studied that report because that was not part of what I examined.
Was information from that report included in the timeline you assisted Agent Dawson with?
Yes, I believe it was.
If you were to look at that timeline that the agent prepared, would that help refresh your memory?
Yes, sir. I could look at it and see what their report says.
It's a copy of his timeline report. You recognize that that's what it is?
Are you wanting me to look for the vehicle
Yes, please,
information on there?
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor. This is what's going to be a defense exhibit. State does not object if we just go ahead and admit it as a defense exhibit at this point. But I don't know if what Mr. Barber's intention is.
Your Honor, I was using this to refresh the witness's recollection. Rule 612.
What is the objection?
If he's going to review that, the state would ask that it be marked and admitted. Because this is not a report personally prepared by Lieutenant Dove.
Would you like to have it admitted as a state's exhibit or defense exhibit?
I'm happy to admit it as a defense exhibit, Your Honor. It's not pre-marked, however.
Admitted as a defense exhibit.
You need to mark it before. Okay.
I'm handing you back what's now been marked as defense exhibit 60, which will make this a lot quicker and easier. Did you find what we were talking about?
Yes, sir, I did.
And when did Mr. Murdaugh's car start?
According to this timeline that's been prepared, it looks like it starts at 9:06:48 p.m.
And that is a second after the end of that period of walking around.
Yes, sir.
Would it be fair to describe that period of walking around as Mr. Murdaugh walking to his car?
I can just say the phone recorded steps. I can say what this report has as far as the vehicle information. Now, whether somebody was walking to their car, from their car, or just walking around an area, I can't say because I wasn't there. But I can just say what the information contained on there.
Did his phone connect to the Bluetooth system in his car?
I did not find connections during that time frame.
Did you look at his car? I apologize. Did the FBI find a connection to the system in his car, not on his phone?
I don't see it in this section that talks about the vehicle stuff for the 906 period.
I'll come back to that in a second. If a phone were thrown from the window of a moving car going down a country road, would you expect, and the screen was on at that time because there's an incoming call, would you expect to see an orientation change?
Depends on how it was thrown, but if it was just thrown end over end, then I would expect the orientation change.
Okay. And this phone was recovered on the side of the road, you're aware of that?
Yes, sir.
About 15 feet. We've had testimony about that in some brush on the side of a country road. Not so far from Mr. Murdaugh's house, but a half mile or so at least. If that would make an orientation change, and that was the last orientation change ever on the phone until it's recovered is 9:06 and 12 seconds, 9:06 and 20 seconds, is it reasonable to believe that is it being thrown out the window to its final resting place before it is recovered?
It's hard for me to say. I can just testify about what the information's on the phone. If it's somebody throws, there's different way to throw things. You can throw things end over end, straight. You can throw it sideways. You can take and toss something is considered a throw. It's hard for me to say that because depending on how it's thrown, what it hits when it tumbles or to the ground or how it lands could cause different things to happen.
Based on the information in front of you, would it be possible for the person who's cranking that car at 9:06 and 48 seconds to be throwing it from that car while it's moving at 9:06 and 12 to 20 seconds?
Anything's possible. I
If
don't
the person
know.
driving were Alex Murdaugh because he's having to walk for a few minutes before he gets in the car, right?
I don't know how he throws things, how he handles things, so it'd be hard for me to say how they would do that.
So what I'm asking is, if he walked from 9:02 until the second before he gets in the car and cranks it, and that is, it looks like 30 seconds after the phone is thrown on the side of the road a half mile away, can he be in two places at once?
I don't know that was the time the phone was thrown. I know that's the time the orientation change occurred. Now, that does not mean that the phone was thrown at that moment. It's hard for me to say.
Certainly, it is possible that it was a random orientation change and somebody throws the phone out of the moving car going down this country road, lands in some brush 15 feet off the road by some miracle golf frisbee shot. But you would expect you throw the phone out the window like that, you'd get an orientation change if the screen is on.
If it's thrown like you described, with it being thrown like a golf frisbee kind of throw, I don't expect the orientation change because it can land flat.
So that would be unusual, wouldn't it? That you could throw it from a moving car, it could land 15 feet in the woods and not ever bounce, not once, in a way that would cause an orientation change.
I've never tested throwing a phone out the window to see what the orientation change looks like. Like I said, I can just testify to what is in the records on it.
And at the time, if this is when it's thrown, at that very moment, there's an incoming call from Alex Murdaugh. The screen's lit up with his name on it. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So it would be reasonable that if somebody had taken the phone, they see it starts to ring with his name on it, they might check it out the window.
It is possible if they see that, yes, sir.
That would be consistent with all the information on the cell phones, would it not?
It's consistent, the information on the cell phones, whether somebody who saw the number coming in or they even saw the number coming in, I can't say because I was not there.
I understand. You were not there. And the question is really, your review of these records, is that not just consistent, but reasonably consistent, something that would make sense to you, that is one reasonable possibility consistent with what you see on these phones?
If somebody was holding the phone and they saw a number come in, they didn't want to answer or didn't want, then to throw it, that is a possibility, yes, sir.
And that the last orientation change before law enforcement finds it in the woods on the side of the road the next day recorded when it was tossed out the window.
I can't say that. I can
that
just
would be
say that I can just say there was an orientation change. I cannot say that's when the phone was thrown. It caused that change to portrait.
And at the time, and at less than 30 seconds after that, Alex Murdaugh, well, at that time, he's walking, isn't he? He's not in a car.
The phone recorded steps in the time frame.
And you testified on direct that if you're riding in a car, it's not going to record steps.
Correct.
So he's not in a car at that time.
I can't say where he was or wasn't. I wasn't there. I can just say what the phone recorded, whether it recorded
That's
steps
fair.
or not.
The person in possession of his phone was not in the car at that time, 9:06 and 12 seconds.
I can just say the phone, that somebody had the phone and it recorded steps.
Right. And you also would have testified that if you're in a car, it would not record steps.
Correct. If you put it in a cup holder and ride around in a car, it's not going to record the steps.
So if this phone were in a car at 9:06 and 12 seconds, it would not record any steps.
Correct.
And it did, in fact, did not record steps at that time.
At what time it ended, that's the time, the last ones I see with the steps on that time
I
frame.
mean, it did record steps at that time.
Yes, sir.
So the person who had Alex Murdaugh's phone was walking at this 9:06 and 12 seconds time because it's recording steps.
Yes, sir. Somebody was holding the phone and recording
And
steps.
he's also calling his wife in this time period.
Yes, sir. There are phone calls.
He's walking and calling his wife, and his car is about to crank a second after he stops walking, which really does seem like he's getting into the car.
That's what it would appear with the times, but like I said, all I can testify to is what the information is on the devices.
Did Alex Murdaugh have the code to unlock Maggie Murdaugh's phone?
I don't know. I've been told he did. I was provided the code when I received the phone.
So, you don't really have any, you can't really testify as to why he would take his wife's phone, and I guess the state alleges, and throw it out the window of his car half a mile from his house.
No, sir. I have no idea why people are thinking or do things they do.
And we previously established that his phone and Maggie's phone when he's walking, they're not walking together. Is that correct?
Correct. There are no steps recorded on the devices together.
So he's walking without her phone. Her phone does an orientation change while he's walking without her phone. Is that correct?
I can just say both devices were not recording steps at the same time.
And they're not recording steps at the same time, and he's walking at 9:06:12.
Correct.
Therefore, hers is not recording steps at 9:06:12.
Correct.
So his phone is walking, hers is not. At the time, her phone has this final orientation change before it's found on the side of the road.
Yes, sir.
And in your 20-some years experience in law enforcement, that doesn't make it seem reasonable to you that that the person who had Alex's phone did not also have Maggie's phone at 9:06 and 12 seconds?
It appears the phones were not together being moved by the same person because they were not recording steps.
I'm going to switch off of timeline a little bit and ask, were you aware of a Cellebrite logical extraction of Alex's phone that was conducted on June 10th?
I've been told there was one conducted, yes, sir.
Did you ever receive that?
I received a copy of it several months back.
Did you receive it after you did the full file extraction?
Yes, sir.
So there was really it wasn't very useful to you at that point, was it?
No, sir. I was working off of my extraction because I was able to obtain the full file system, which gives me more information than an advanced logical would do.
Turn to Maggie's phone and the recovery of that. You testified earlier. Is it your understanding it was recovered in the afternoon of the day after June 8th?
My understanding is it was recovered June 8th. The approximate time it was recovered or time frame, I'm not 100% sure of.
I'm going to show you what has been marked as Defendant's Exhibit 42.
Yes, sir.
Do you recognize this form?
Yes, sir, I do.
And what is it?
It is our evidence intake form for the Computer Crime Center.
Okay. Your Honor, Mr. Murdaugh would offer this as Defendant's Exhibit 42 into evidence.
No objection.
It's admitted without objection.
Is this the intake form for Maggie Murdaugh's phone?
Yes, sir, it is.
Can we please publish Exhibit 42? While they do that, what's the date on this form?
The date on the form is June 9th, 2021.
Is that when her phone came to you?
Yes, sir.
So you didn't have it from on the same day they recovered it, it was the next day?
Correct.
On this form, do you see where it says subject's name? What does subject's name mean?
It's just the name of a subject, whether it be a victim, a witness, a suspect, anything else that would be provided by the investigator for.
And here where it says subject name unknown, would you understand that to mean the subject to be the person who committed the homicide?
No, sir. Like I said, it's just a subject name. We get them that are witnesses. Some are victims. Some are suspects. It's just a subject's name.
Well, down here under keywords, do you see where it says urgent request and it's ticked yes?
Yes, sir.
And then what's the reason for that request?
It says unknown suspect.
And again, given that this is a homicide, doesn't this indicate that at this time they're saying that we don't know who committed this homicide and there's some urgency about looking at the victim's phone?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to stick with Maggie's phone, but really quickly, I want to just quickly turn to Paul's. Show you what's been marked as Defense Exhibit 46. Recognize that?
Yes, sir, I do.
And what is it?
It is an evidence intake form for the Computer Crime Center at SLED.
Your Honor, offer a Defendant's 46 in evidence.
No objection.
It's admitted.
Lieutenant Dove, is this the intake form for Paul's phone?
I believe it to be so, yes, sir.
Which you got on August 13. I believe we had testimony on that.
Yes, sir.
Is it an urgent request?
No, sir, it's not checked, yes or no.
Is there anything written on here that indicates that the subject is unknown?
No, sir, the subject line is blank.
I'm going to turn back to Maggie's phone. You recognize this one?
Yes, sir, I do.
And what is it?
It's an examination worksheet for mobile devices.
And this is for Maggie's phone?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I'd offer this as a plaintiff's, Mr. Murdaugh's exhibit number 43.
No objection.
It's admitted.
This has, let's just ask this. When did you perform the full file system extraction on Maggie Murdaugh's phone?
On June 16th, 2021.
And that was 8 days after it was recovered, correct?
Yes, sir.
And why was there an 8-day delay?
I attempted to process it, was only able to get a partial extraction originally from the device. It would not process fully with the iOS and the model of that phone. I did do an advanced logical to get some information off for the investigators since it was an unknown suspect. Then on the 15th of June of 2021, Graykey updated the software, and then I reran it the next day with the updated software to get the full file system.
Is it fair to say that essentially there were some technical difficulties and you were unable to do it for 8 days?
It was just that at the time, Graykey did not support that model in that iOS. It was not difficulties, it just did not support it.
Okay. And during that 8-day period, would anything have been lost on the phone? We've talked a lot about how things can go pretty quickly on some of these tables. Was anything lost during that time?
Some of the location data from the GPS system, since the phone came in airplane mode, could have been overwritten.
And I think we talked before that that's in one of these SQL-like databases called Cache.
Yes, sir.
And I think we even looked at on the Paul's phone, the timeline. There was the state's attorney pointed out some GPS locations.
Yes, sir.
was the source of those on the timeline, that was cache, that was the cache SQLite database, correct?
Yes, sir, it was.
Okay. So now I want to ask you if you recognize this document.
Yes, sir, I do.
And what is this?
It's a database. It's tables from a database that denote longitude, latitude, timestamps, accuracy.
And for whose phone?
It says on the top, Maggie Murdaugh's iPhone.
And this is from the cache?
Yes, sir.
And is this actually from the same table in the cache database as was the source in those GPS locations we were looking at on the timeline for Paul's phone?
Yes, sir. They were both cache databases.
What is the earliest entry on this?
It appears that the first entry is at June 9th, 2021 at 2:51:21 p.m.
So that's 2 days after Maggie Murdaugh was murdered.
Yes, sir.
And it took 8 days to extract her phone.
Yes, sir.
If it had been extracted in 6 days, would we have this data for the night of the murder?
It's possible. It appears it may be. Yes, sir.
That latitude and longitude of the oldest entry, do you know where that is?
No, sir. I would have to plot it to know for sure.
Would you disagree with me if I said that that's a SLED building, given that it's the date?
No, sir. I would say that most of these are probably the SLED Annex building in Columbia.
And it is. Yesterday, you were asking questions about a Faraday bag, and there was some discussion that often there's no real point if it's already in airplane mode. But you said that one difference between removing the SIM card or airplane mode and a Faraday bag is that the Faraday bag would block GPS signals. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
If this phone had been placed in a Faraday bag until whatever the breaky issues were could be resolved, would it have preserved GPS data?
It should have, as long as the Faraday bag was not defective and sealed properly, then it should have blocked the GPS.
And then we would presumably have GPS data going back to 6/7.
Yes, sir. I would imagine so in that time frame. Yes, sir.
I beg your pardon, please. Apologize, Your Honor. Almost done. I don't think I've offered this into evidence.
Which one? Was it?
Your Honor, I would offer this as defendant's exhibit 45.
Is that what you was just looking at?
Oh, yeah, submit it by objection.
One, I guess, final question. I said something we would come back to if I can. It's one of the state's exhibits. Do you have 284?
I have 283. Yes, sir. I have 284.
I'm sorry, and I said
It's okay.
the wrong number, 282. Sorry.
That's okay. I have 283. I have 290, and I have 284 up here.
Okay. Well, I'll find that one, and that will be our last question.
What were you looking for again?
282. Handed you what's been entered as State's Exhibit 282.
Yes, sir.
We turn to page 16.
Yes, sir.
Do you see the text message, going to check on them, be right back?
Yes, sir, I do.
Is there anything on there indicating it was delivered around 9:31 p.m.?
It shows the time on here is recorded as June 7th, 2021 at 9:08:58 p.m.
And in the rest of the information around that text message, do you see anything?
Around this particular text message?
Yes,
Just that its status is unread.
Let's see the exhibit. No further questions, Your Honor.
You never.
Your Honor. Mr. Barber asked you about the potentiality of Alex and Maggie's phones being carried at the same time, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you testified that there were no steps on Alex's phone at about the 8:55 time frame when we see steps on Maggie's phone, correct?
Correct.
Don't leave the witness.
At 8:55, and we can refer to the report again if you need to. Between 8:53 and 8:55, do you see steps on Maggie's phone?
Yes, sir. I see steps from 8:53 and ending at 8:55.
And do you see any steps after that on Maggie's phone?
No, sir, I do not.
And if you want to pick up Alex's steps report, well, if you don't mind, look at the exhibit number on the back real quick.
It states Exhibit 290.
And would you look at the steps, the time frame of 8:05 to 9:02 p.m. on June 7th?
Yes, sir.
And do you see any steps on Alex's phone for that entire time period?
From 8:05:35 p.m. to 8:09:52 p.m., it shows 74 steps.
And let me stop you. I think you misspoke. The start time was 8:05 and some seconds p.m., correct?
Yes, sir.
And what was the end?
The end for that one was 8:09:52 p.m.
Right. All right. And do you see any steps after that prior to 9:02 on Alex's phone?
No, sir.
And that video was recorded again at what time?
The video was recorded, the camera was started at 8:44:49 p.m.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about this time, these times that Mr. Barber wrote. So this one. All right. And this is the information that Mr. Barber wrote down while he was having you read off some of these events, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And at 8:55:04, I believe this was a screen-on event. Is that
Yes,
correct?
sir.
If you need to look at the original report, that's fine. All right. And then at 8:54, we see another orientation change at 54:40, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then at 9:06:12, we have an orientation change that starts at 9:06:12, correct?
Let me just verify the seconds real quick. At 9:06:12, yes, sir, I see the start of an orientation change to portrait.
Okay. And 2 seconds later, what happens?
I see a call.
And from who?
It's from PA on the report, but that's Alex Murdaugh's phone number.
Ends in 1227.
Yes, sir.
And I believe Mr. Barber asked you, and I can't remember if you wrote it down. What time does the screen turn off? Or is Maggie's phone screen on during that call at 9:06:14? Let me ask you that. Take a look at the report.
Yes, sir. I see a time ending for the screen on at 9:07:00 p.m. And it looks like the screen started and came on at 9:05:44 p.m.
Okay, so the screen comes on at 9:05, and it turns off when?
It turns off at 9:07:00 p.m.
And when was the next time Maggie's phone screen turns on?
It turns on at 9:31:44 p.m.
All right, between 9:07 and 9:31, Maggie's screen is off, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, and I think you testified about this, but I'm going to ask you again. If the screen is off, will a phone record a orientation change?
No, sir.
And so Mr. Barber was asking you about the phone being thrown at this 9:06:48 time frame, correct?
Yes, sir.
And ultimately, you can't tell us exactly when that phone was thrown, correct?
Correct.
With the information that you recovered from this phone, correct?
Yes, sir. Correct.
But if that phone had been thrown after 9:07 with the screen off, would you expect to see an orientation change?
No, sir.
If that phone had been thrown at 9:08:58, when that text from Alex comes in to going to see him, if it had been thrown in that time period, would you expect to see an orientation change?
No, sir.
All right, and let's look at Alex's steps one more time. Do you have his report with you, Andy?
Yes, sir, I do.
Could you hand it to me?
Yes, sir.
This is State's Exhibit 290. Let's look at his steps a little later tonight, real quick. All right, let's look at record 26. This is something we've previously talked about, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that's 283 steps between 9:02 and 9:06 p.m., correct?
Yes, sir.
And that's Alex's phone, correct?
Yes, sir, it is.
All right, and record 27. What is that? What is indicated in that record, sir?
It shows that the phone recorded 195 steps starting June 7th, 2021 at 9:22:39 p.m. and ended at 9:32:14 p.m.
Okay, record 28. What does this record indicate, sir?
This record shows steps being recorded by the phone of 60 starting June 7th, 2021 at 9:35:55 p.m. and ending at 9:45:37 p.m.
So at 9:22, there's 195 steps.
Yes, sir.
And at 9:35, there's 60 steps, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, you've testified, we've talked about this quite a bit. You know, a step count, is that something you can 100% rely on as the exact number?
No, sir, it's not 100% accurate.
And Mr. Barber asked you about the phone will record distance as well, correct?
Yes, sir, it can record distance and show it in meters.
All right, and you've already testified that the steps is not always exactly accurate. In your opinion, the distance that's recorded by a phone steps, is that generally accurate?
No, sir.
All right. And would the distance that the phone records, would that be, in your opinion, more or less accurate than the steps that are recorded?
The distance is recorded, I would consider to be a little less accurate than I would the steps.
All right, because there's some variables, correct?
Yes, sir.
Such as?
There's different variables about stride length as far as when somebody's walking. Some people stride further than others. Some people, when they walk too, they'll walk faster than that, so they can cover a greater distance in a short amount of time, but they're using more steps a lot of times because they're not striding maybe as far.
But you see 195 steps at 9:22, correct?
Yes, sir.
And 60 steps at 9:35, correct?
Yes, sir.
And is 60 less or more than 195?
60's less.
And would you expect the distance traveled at 9:35 to be less than the distance traveled at 9:22?
I would have no way of knowing. Just depends on if somebody was up walking around versus sitting down. It's just hard to say.
But more steps were taken at 9:22, correct?
Yes, sir.
Just a couple more things. The defense exhibit, what number is it? The text messages exhibit. Defense exhibit 54, please.
Yes, sir. I have a
Oh, you have
copy of it up here. I'm sorry.
Sorry about that. Sir, would you mind bringing this stuff up? This is defense exhibit 54. And I believe Mr. Barber had you read this, but I want to make sure he did. And that's looks like entry number 2 there on the that we see up on the screen. Can you read that, please?
Yes, sir. It's June 7th, 2021 It's at 7:55:26 p.m., but this is in UTC time. So to go back minus 4 hours to set it to our time zone would be at 3:55:26 p.m.
All right, and that's 3:55 in the afternoon, correct?
Yes, sir.
Of June 7th, correct?
Yes, sir. That's in the afternoon. You subtract 4.
All right, read that text, please.
It says, TY, I'm waiting at doctor. Alex wants me to come home.
Alex, what?
Wants me to come home. I had to leave door open at Edisto, but trust Mexicans to shut and lock for me. His dad is back in hospital. The last doctor claims no cancer, it's pneumonia. And there's some emojis and it says Alex, but I'm not sure if that's going into the next thread or not.
Let's go to the second page of that, please. We want to make this 100% clear. Sir, can we highlight the time? Actually, go back to the first page, excuse me. All right, and just highlight for us the time on the text entry, the text that he just read, where it says 7:55:26. Can you just highlight 7:55:26, please? There you go. All right, and just want to be 100% clear about this. This is Greenwich Mean Time, correct?
Yes, or
Also known as-
UTC.
Yes. Also known as UTC, correct?
Yes, sir.
This is not local time.
Correct.
It's 3:55:26 p.m., correct?
Correct. Our time zone.
All right, go to page 2, please. All right, let's read text entry number 6. What time is that in local time? It says 8:03 p.m. What is that in local time?
In local time, I would subtract 4 hours from that. It would be 4:03:14 p.m.
And what does this text say again?
It says, yes, he does. He told me he was tired when he left. I hope they are treat Mr. Randolph at least to make him comfortable.
Okay. Let's go down to entry number 8. Again, that's 8:06:43 Universal Time. What is that? Eastern Time?
It would be subtracting 4 hours. It would be at 4:06:43 p.m.
And what does that text message say?
It says, I am scared for him and Alex and all of us.
All right. It says him. We just read the text at number 6. From the context of this message, who do you think him refers to?
I believe it refers to his father, Mr. Randolph.
But it says she is scared for Mr. Randolph and who?
And Alex and all of us.
Mr. Barber asked you about that camera that came on Maggie's phone, and I believe it was around 8:54 or 8:55. And if you have that report, if you need to look it up real quick, you can.
Yes, sir, I have it. Do you need to know what exhibit number it is?
Yeah, you don't read it.
It states exhibit 283.
So that camera that came on, can you look at the exact time again? At 8, I think it was 8:54 time frame.
Yes, sir. It shows an end time of 8:54:35 p.m.
What was the start time?
It was 8:54:34 p.m.
So that camera was accessed for how long?
1 second.
And I know you testified that from the data you have, you can't say with 100% certainty how that camera was activated, correct?
Correct. It's just showing as an application usage. It could have been that the phone thought it saw something and the camera was activated. It could have been running in the background. For 1 second, it doesn't look like somebody might have touched it to cut it on.
Okay. If it had been someone actually trying to turn on the camera app, would a second of one, let me rephrase that. In your experience and expertise, you've reviewed phone data that shows cameras being turned on by persons at certain times, correct?
Yes, sir.
And when you see a camera activated to be used as a camera, i.e. to take a picture, or to take a video, how long is that camera app on generally?
It's usually several seconds to a minute because the camera has to come into focus of the picture it's going to take.
And if a camera app is on for only 1 second, in your opinion, what does that lead you to believe?
Where it's located in the application usage log, and for 1 second, to me, it would indicate that the phone's camera was possibly looking to see if it recognized a face or recognized something that was running in the background.
Nothing further for this hearing.
Further. Yes, sir. Very, very quickly, on this camera usage, are you familiar with something on the iPhone called Springboard?
Yes, sir.
What is Springboard?
It's usually things that are set that once you touch them, it'll bring it up to focus as far as with applications of different things.
If the metadata, I try to say this in an understandable fashion, but if Knowledge C had data about that camera app that indicated the usage came from Springboard lock screen, would that tell you anything about how the camera was activated?
If it showed it was coming from the lock screen Springboard, it would mean that on your iPhone, if you look at it, you have at the bottom right corner a little camera there, that you would be hitting that from there.
Okay. Have you checked to see if that metadata is the Knowledge C for this camera event?
No, so I didn't review the Springboard metadata.
So, and we saw when the easel was up, there's kind of a little flurry of activity screen on and off orientation changes happening right around when this camera usage happened. And if it were coming from the lock screen, if we had some metadata that would show that, which we may well have, could it be that she was trying to take a picture of someone, say a perpetrator?
If for 1 second, it would be to start and stop in 1 second. I would imagine that would be difficult, but could somebody accidentally activate their camera and then shut it off? Yes, sir, that is possible.
And if the perpetrator or perpetrators responded by shooting at her, could that explain why it went off in 1 second and there were a bunch of orientation changes very shortly thereafter?
I would think if somebody went and activated their camera and then they're in fear, they wouldn't think to just shut off the camera.
Right. But if they had their finger on the phone, it could happen, right?
There's a lot of possibilities
Yeah.
could happen, not knowing how a person reacts.
Does the camera app ever store a snapshot of the app? In other words, a screenshot that might have an image, even if you didn't take a picture?
I haven't seen that with the camera stuff. I've seen snapshots be captured of apps running in the background.
But have you looked through the snapshots in this time frame? All the ones on the phone, are they all there?
The ones I looked at, I did look at one. The last one, from my recollection, was a Facebook that was open in the background.
No further questions.
You may step down. You may step down, and ladies and gentlemen, we will break until for an hour and 15 minutes, around 2:35.